Hello everyone and welcome to Students Inspiration. So the chapter that I present today is a grammar topic, subject verb concord, and you can also call it subject verb agreement. So what we are going to deal in this topic with, we are going to deal about that the subject that we are using in the sentence and the verb that we are using for that particular subject. Is it agreeing to it or not? So here are a set of rules, or you can also call it points. Now I prefer it calling points because sometimes I feel like when we call it rules, it creates that image in our mind that we have to memorize these many rules, but the moment we start calling it point, it becomes easier for us to remember it. Well, let us start. So the first point that I'm going to talk about is that the verb agrees with its subject in number and person. For example, like if we have a singular subject, we use a singular form of verb, and if we have a plural subject, we use a plural form of verb. Now before I move towards the example, I really want to clarify what are singular and plural verbs. So just as we do have singular and plural nouns, like whenever we are transforming any noun from singular to plural, we do add s or es. But if we are talking about verbs, we do opposite to it. Whenever we are transforming singular verb to the plural one, we have to remove s or es or whatever. So in singular verbs, we do have s or es, and in plural verbs, we skip s or es. Now I hope this would be clear to all, the singular and the plural verb. Now again moving back towards the examples to the point. So here I've taken two examples, like one is baby and the other in which we have plural subject, that is babies. So since the baby is singular subject or singular noun, we have to apply singular verb, and the verb that I chose was cry. So the singular form of this verb is cries, and when we talking about babies, that's a plural subject or plural noun, so the verb we are applying is plural. And as I told you that in plural verb we don't use s or es, so it will be cry. A baby cries and babies cry. I hope this is very much clear to all. Moving towards the second point, so we have to use am, was or have with I. We cannot use any other form of auxiliary verb with it except for am, was or have, and with you we are supposed to use are, were and have. Now let us talk about an example, like I am satisfied, or maybe I was satisfied. And yes, we can also have I have been satisfied in the perfect form of tense. Now same is with you also. You are, or maybe you were satisfied, or yes, you have been satisfied. I hope this point is also clear to all. Moving towards the third one, we use have, not has. I do repeat, we use have, not has with the following verbs in the negative and their question forms. And what are those following verbs? Those verbs are do, does, did, can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, need, dare, ought to, used to. And yes, here I again want to revise that these verbs are said to be special verbs, or you can also call them modal verbs. So these are your modal verbs or special verbs. So whenever we are talking about these verbs in their negative or the question forms, we use have, not has. And we have a plenty of examples, so here you can go through the examples. Like let me discuss one with you all. So I'm moving for the second example. Does he have a new car? See, we haven't used does he has a new car. Like if we were talking about the positive part, we would have used he has a new car. But the moment we are converting it into the question, we'll say, does he have a new car? Now, if you want, you can place a mark over this example, because many a times we all get confused that when we are starting the sentence with does, do we have to use have or has? So I think this sentence clarifies this doubt as well, that no doubt if we are starting a sentence with does in a question mark, we are going to use have as a verb in it. Moving towards the next point. So my next point is, when sentence begins with there, the real subject is placed after verb. So in that case, we need to identify the real subject, and then we used to write down the exact verb for it. Now let me read out a sentence. If I say there dash no student in the class. Now because no student is the singular form of subject, so the verb that we will use should also be singular, and hence we have there is no student in the class. Now moving towards the plural form of the sentence, if I say there dash pictures on the wall, so because the subject is pictures, and yes, that is a plural form of subject, so here we have to use plural form of verb that can be either were or it can be are. Now coming towards the next point, it is always followed by singular verb. Whenever a sentence is starting with it, we have to use a singular verb. In present form we can have is, in past form we can have was. Like here I have two examples, you can go through each of them. Now moving towards the next point, and the next point says, whenever we are using and to join two singular nouns or two plural nouns, we have to use plural verb, because each of the noun is referring to another individuality, hence we are going to use plural verb. Like if I talk about the first example, he and I, we have joined two subjects, he and I, and to join them we are using and these two are different personalities. He is different and I am completely different. So we are joining these two subjects by using a plural verb. Either we could use were or we can also use are. He and I are present. He and I were present in the meeting. Any of them. Well, I'm sure this is quite understandable to all. So here I come to the next set of points, and my point starts. If two singular nouns refer to the same person or thing. Now here we need to notify it, like in this part also we are talking about two singular nouns, but these two nouns are referring to the same person. For one single person we are using two different nouns. In such a case, the verb that we use is to be singular. Like if I'm talking about a person who is my friend and my neighbor together, I'm talking about the person who is my friend and also my neighbor, and yes, I'm talking about one single person. So here the verb that I'm going to use is singular. My friend and neighbor is no more, or maybe my friend and neighbor is out of the town. Now comes the next point. So if two subjects refer to same idea, yes, we need to memorize this. So if we are talking about two subjects that are separate, that are having their own value, but yes, they are referring to the same idea. In that case, the verb must be singular. Like if I say bread and butter, so bread and butter, we talk about them all together. In that case, the verb that we use with it is singular. Bread and butter is a wholesome food, because we are talking about one idea, one food, that is a bread with butter. Alright, now moving towards another point. So here I am talking about when two or more singular subjects are joined by or, nor, either or, neither nor. So the verb is to be singular. Now as you all might be knowing, like either or, neither nor, or and nor, these are used for choice. They are used to choose the subject. So whenever we are choosing the subject, we have to pick out any one out of the two. Hence it uses singular verb, like neither Rita nor I was prepared. Now with the same thing of discussion, we have one more point that you need to understand very carefully. Like if I move towards the next point, so we have if the subject is preceded by each or every. Whenever we have a sentence starting with each or every and immediately after that we have the subject, so the verb that we prefer is singular. Like I talk about an example, each child wants ice cream, because each individual child we are talking about, so hence we shall be using the singular form of verb. Now moving towards the next point, which is quite similar to the third one but having different meaning. When subjects are joined by or nor of different persons, need to remember subjects are joined by using or nor, but they are of different persons. Like they might be of first person, second person or third person in pronoun, then the verb must agree with the subject nearest to it. Like let me explain it to you with the help of an example. So the example that I have is either he or I. Now the subjects we are talking about is he, I. He belongs to the third person category and I belongs to the first person category. And seriously, if you don't know about the first, second or third person, you need to look forward to the video of mine in which I have explained a lot about pronouns, specifically personal pronouns. Well, moving forward, so if we are talking about he, I, and we are choosing any of these two, and these are of different person, like he is from third person pronoun and I is from first person pronoun, and immediately after this subject we have to place the verb. So the verb is following I. In that case, the verb must agree with I, and hence the verb that is being chosen is am. I hope this might be very clear. Moving towards another point, so we do such kind of mistake very oftenly. And what's that? Like in a sentence, we do get confused in choosing the correct subject or the noun we are talking about. So here let me talk about the sentence, the quality of apples. Now many a times we do get confused and think that in the sentence we are talking about apples. But my dear, we are not talking about apples, we are talking about the quality of these apples. So here, because we are talking about the quality, which is a singular presentation, hence the verb will be used is, was or is. Was for past form and is for present form. Let me talk about one more example which is very common in our lives, like one of the boys. Now we get confused as if we are talking about boys, but yes, we are not talking about boys, we are talking about one from the group of those boys. So because the exact number we are talking about is singular, hence the verb we'll choose will also be singular, that is was, because over here we have at the end yesterday, so the verb shall follow the past tense and hence it will be was. Now moving towards the next point that I have is about collective nouns. So collective nouns take a singular subject whenever the collection is thought of as a whole. Now when we are talking about the collection as one, as a whole, we'll take singular verb and we'll take plural verb if we are talking about in the collection as individual, we are talking about each individual separately, then we will take plural verb. So let me talk about an example. Like the jury, here we have the jury, that's a collective noun as a whole, and the verb that I've chosen is singular, that is has agreed to our proposal, because the proposal that we presented was completely accepted by all the jury members. So here the jury is representing as a whole group in one, so the verb that will be used is singular. Now if I talk about another example, a lot of trees have been cut. Now here we are talking about again a group of trees, a lot of trees, but each tree has lost its own individual life. Each tree is losing its own individual life, hence we are using plural form of verb, that is have. I'm sure this is very much clear to all. Alright, so here I present another set of points, and the points start with a new one, and that says nouns which are plural in form but singular in meaning take singular verb. So we have certain nouns that seem to us as if they are plural but in meaning they have singular meaning, like if we talk about news, because it has S, so sometimes we feel as if it is a plural noun, but yes, it is a singular noun and hence it takes singular verb. Now, new point. So words take a singular verb when joined to a singular subject by. Now if we are using words like along with, together with, as well as, in that case we use singular verb. Let me explain it with the help of example. The general along with his regiment. So here we are mainly talking about general, no doubt he is being followed by his regiment, but the main point, the main subject we are talking about is general, hence we are going to use singular verb, that is has. Next point, nouns such as goods, means, shoes, tongs, trousers, etc., and some descriptive words like the rich, the poor, the needy, they are plural and hence they take plural nouns, like the rich hate the poor, scissors are not sharp. But whenever these words are using the word a pair of, they become singular in number and hence they use singular verb. Like when we were talking about scissors, we used plural verb, scissors are not sharp. But if I say the pair of scissor, the pair of scissor, I can say is not sharp. This pair of scissor is not sharp, because here we are talking about pair. We are talking about that particular pair of scissors. Alright, now the remaining 2 points, uncountable nouns such as stationery, luggage, news, progress, and so on take a singular verb. Their furniture is durable, or maybe they have a lot of stationery. Now, if a plural noun denotes some quantity or amount considered as a unit or a whole, it takes a singular verb. Like, let me explain you with an example. 10 kilometers. Overall, it is a plural point, 10 kilometers, a long distance. But yes, we are talking about this huge distance as one whole unit. We are talking about that complete distance of 10 kilometers as one single unit. So we are going to use singular verb for it. I'm sure this is very clear, very understandable to all of you. And yes, if you understood by this video, do hit a like button, and yes, subscribe the channel as well, and don't forget to share it with your friends. Bye bye. Take care everyone.